It's the Happy Families Podcast. It's the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now.
The Australian government, in concert with the opposition, have given Australian families a Christmas present. Won't really come in until next Christmas, but we'll take what we can get. The government has legislated that kids under the age of 16 are not going to be allowed to use social media. Well, until they turn 16, there's going to be all sorts of age verification bits and pieces that are required so that kids can prove that they're over 16. Hallelujah. It's great news, Kylie. Funniest thing happened just late last week. Prince Harry, father of two, a 5-year-old, Archie, and a 2-year-old, Lilibet. I know we don't talk about the royals much on the Happy Families podcast, but he's had a word to say about the Australian government's decision to ban social media for kids under 16. Would you like to know what he said?
I'm very interested.
Because this guy is in touch with the common man. He knows what the average parent's dealing with. He was speaking at a New York conference of political and business bigwigs, and he had this to say.
By banning it and removing it creates all sorts of problems, just as much as any advice to parents to say, well, just don't let them on social media. Do you know what happens when that happens? There's a massive falling out between the parents and the child. Or then the child goes to school, and guess what happens? They're probably the only person, or maybe 1 of 5% in the class that isn't on social media, and they get bullied.
I'd be really interested to know if there was any data on the number of children being bullied because they don't have social media compared to those who are being bullied on social media.
Yeah, and further that, the degree to which the bullying is occurring as well, the excessiveness of it, the fact that they can't get away from it. There are two things that stood out to me. Obviously, the bullying, as you've just highlighted. Oh, by the way, research does show that children are more likely to be bullied because they have that online platform with them than not. Like if you've got a platform where people are being bullied and you take it away, it doesn't lead to more bullying very, very infrequently, especially once it's a blanket ban. It's going to be pretty rare for kids to be teasing other kids in the playground and saying, I've got social media and you don't, you're a loser. Not going to happen. But I thought the first part was the most interesting. When parents ban children from social media, it causes a massive falling out. Is there anyone on the planet that knows more about massive falling outs? Having a massive falling out with your family than Prince Harry? Just asking for a friend, somebody brought it up. I just think this is such ill-considered advice from a guy who's raising a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, and he's clearly not in touch. In the same conversation, he also confirmed that he doesn't have any social media accounts.
Interesting.
Very interesting. And I guess the last point that I wanted to make when I was thinking about it and talking to parents who are, you know what, overwhelmingly, every parent that I've spoken to about this has said, oh, hallelujah, bring it on, and thank goodness. But I was thinking, this idea that it's going to cause a falling out, parenting causes a falling out. Do you know what I mean?
If it doesn't, I think we're actually doing it wrong.
Yeah, make your bed, tidy up your room, eat your vegetables, go to sleep on time. No, you can't have multiple piercings because you're 7. No tattoos until you're 30. No drinking, no vaping, no smoking. Bedtime, for goodness sakes, like kids need limits. And every time there's going to be a parent imposing a limit, it has the potential that it could create a falling out. I don't get where Prince Harry gets off thinking that he's got something to contribute to the conversation in Australia when he's raising a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old and he's so clearly detached from reality.
Well, he didn't have anything to say in Australia. It was in New York.
Well, he was in New York, but he was talking about the social media ban because Australia's done it. He also said this is a direct quote. So I don't want to harp on this because today's podcast is not about Prince Harry, but my goodness, I just struggle with these guys. He said,
it's already been intentionally created to be addictive. So by banning it and removing it creates all sorts of problems.
So banning it or removing it, quote, creates all sorts of problems.
That's intriguing.
Well, it
Should
is.
we just let the kids have alcohol and drugs because it's going to cause a big problem?
Yeah, removing something that's addictive is usually a positive step, is how I would respond to that. And that's the nature, that's the issue of addictive stuff. So the man with no social media accounts and a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old who has lived a life of $1 bajillion of privilege from day dot is telling us that our government's wrong. I just find that absolutely fascinating, compelling, and I wanted to bring it up because as we move into 12 months to go until this ban takes place, there's plenty of people who have got a whole lot of questions.
So I did have 3 questions for you, but you actually kind of answered my first question, which was how quickly will the legislation roll out? You suggest we're going to be waiting for about 12 months.
Correct. That's right. Over the next 12 months, the government needs to work out how the age verification is going to work because people are providing sensitive information. I don't actually know why this is such a big deal. Like, we provide sensitive information to banks. We provide so much information to social media companies, but there's a lot of people worried about privacy.
I think there's good cause for that, though.
In what way?
I just think that we have to hand out so much of our private information in so many different directions. And it's not us as adults who are doing it. It's our kids who are having to do it.
So the coalition got amendments through into this bill, and they essentially said that platforms can't compel users to provide official identity documents like a driver's license or a passport, and any data that's collected has to be deleted once the age verification is completed, unless the user says, no, it's okay, you can hold on to it. Again, everyone freaks out. We're giving everyone so much information. Well, hello, like, you walk around with that phone in your pocket. It's tracking everything you do. It knows where you've been. It knows what conversations you're having. It knows how your face looks at different times when you're watching different reels. Like, we give them so much information. I don't get why people are freaking out about it. We use the service every single day. And if the tech giants wanted to misuse our private information, they're not going to need access to our identity documents anyway. They've got so much data there. Anyway, back to your question. Over the next 12 months, they're going to be working out how this will happen. So there's identification via documents, but you can also do Face ID and that sort of thing. They reckon that there's some technology there that's going to help. And the good news is that in 12 months' time, if you're under 16, you're off the platform. But we've got to wait until next Christmas for that to happen.
Well, I'm guessing for kids who are not already on socials, this could go 2 ways. As a parent, I'm jumping for joy.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there are plenty of kids who thought that next birthday they were going to be able to, get on socials, and now they're finding out that they've got to wait another 2-3 years before that's going to be a possibility.
So our 10-year-old, she's disappointed because she knows she has to wait till she's 16 now, but she also knows she has to wait. Like, there's no way around it.
6 years.
Yeah.
I would love to think that we're in a totally different place with this whole social media thing in 6 years' time.
So many parents got to be so happy about this.
But I'm thinking that parents of 14 and 15-year-olds are pulling their hair out at the moment, wondering how they're going to rescind this social media privilege from their children until they're 16.
So, yeah, easy. 2 things. Number 1, they're not going to have a choice whether they do or not, because the ID requirements will ensure that your child cannot have that platform. Even if they have had it, they'll get kicked off. Do you know TikTok deleted over 1 million Australian accounts last month because they were all kids that were underage? Like, these social media companies are absolutely mendacious. I have no time for them whatsoever. But you got to give credit where credit's due. They kicked 1 million accounts off with underage Australians. I think that's brilliant. And we're talking about under the age of 13 here.
Wow.
So that's great. But parents don't need to worry about it because the technology will take care of it for them. The kids will try to log in. They'll be prompted to provide ID. If they can't provide ID, they'll be given the opportunity to provide facial recognition. If neither of those are provided, then they're off the platform. If they try to provide them and they don't have accurate data to get in, then again, the platforms just won't let them in. So finally, what I've been advocating for several years now, the technology companies are going to be the ones that are responsible for determining whether or not the kid can or cannot use it based on whether they're 16 or older. It's the perfect solution because parents don't have to be the bad guy here. Parents just have to say, oh, well, I guess you have to wait till you're 16.
So I guess my next question then is, what does a conversation with your child look like? There's actually probably 2 conversations we could explore here. We've got a 13-year-old who's just found out she's got to wait another 3 years.
Yeah.
But you've also got a 14 or 15-year-old who's already on there and they're about to lose that privilege. So what do those 2 conversations look like in our home?
There are 2 ways to answer this question. The first one is just the shrug of the shoulders and say, hey, there's nothing we can do about it. Like, you're going to lose your social media privileges. And I've been talking with our daughter, our 14-year-old, about the reality that this is coming and asking her if she wouldn't mind getting off earlier. So far, no success, but the conversation's happening.
I may have been privy to a conversation that has highlighted that she is definitely listening. She had a friend
Really?
over the other day,
Really?
and she asked this friend.
See, this is the thing. Even before you tell me what she's asked, this is the thing. As parents, we feel like we are bashing our head against the wall and the kids are not listening, and you're just telling me that you've heard this. I've got a feeling that it's going to be good.
So she had a friend over the other day and they were in the kitchen, and she asked her friend if she'd heard about the social media ban that was coming in. Her friend's a year older than her, so it's not really going to impact her at all by the time it is enforced.
Right.
But she said, my mum is jumping up and down for joy. Like, she is over the moon about this because she has younger sisters coming through. And she said, my dad has asked me to get off socials before the ban comes in. And she said, I don't really want to, but I think I'm going to.
Oh, really? Oh, my goodness.
And that was the conversation that they had, and both girls acknowledged that they actually thought that it was a good idea and that they would do something about it sooner. As yet, there hasn't been any wriggle room. But the reality it is our kids are having conversations.
I'm fascinated to hear that.
I think what's really important in this conversation is just the reminder that our village matters, and the types of friendships that we have make a difference to the conversations that take place.
I want to go back to the question you asked and add a second element, because I said there's two different ways that you can respond when you've got a child who's upset because they don't want to lose their social media. And this is something that you have illustrated and emphasized for me so many times, because I do get a little bit carried away. I do sort of just get to the point. But there's going to be some sadness, and I think it's perfectly okay. In fact, I think it's useful for us as parents to look at our child and say, this is really disappointing for you. Like, we're jumping for joy as parents, but we get that this is something that's meaningful for you, and it is going to cause an imposition. It's going to change the way you relate to your friends and the way you engage with your friends.
It's going to change the way they communicate with their friends. Yeah. Like this is huge for a teenager who has used social media as their communication platform. All of a sudden, that has been taken away from them. And it feels like literally overnight, we've gone from having complete access to everyone and everything, and now we've got nothing.
I love it. I just love it. 12 months to go.
But that's not how they see it.
No, of course not.
And so how do we deal with that? Because there are going to be some kids who are really going to struggle. You know that whole idea of like FOMO? This is going to be a whole new level of it.
Go back to what you said, the whole village thing, create community, but also go back to what I said. You don't have to solve this now. It is what it is. And instead, you put your arm around them and say, I know, I get it. I get how frustrating it is. As much as this is a good thing, it doesn't stop it hurting. It's kind of like going to the dentist, right? Going to the dentist is a good thing, but we still don't look forward to it. Sorry to every dentist who's listening. Ultimately, rule of law, it is the backbone of what it is to live in a civilized society. And there is nothing at all that is inappropriate or unfair or draconian about young children not being allowed to buy alcohol or cigarettes or get on their apps and gamble or have tats all over their bodies or go into nightclubs or drive a car. That's not draconian. That's sensible. It's keeping them safe and recognizing that they're not yet ready to make responsible choices in environments that have impact in their lives. Social media has impact, big impact, high impact, comes with risks. And I think the government's got this right in making sure that there are appropriate safeguards to keep them safe. I just can't wait to find out every platform that's banned. Also worth mentioning, Kylie, unfortunate insight that I had the other day, just because they're not going to be on social media doesn't mean that they're not going to have access to screens. They'll still be able to play games. They'll still be able to use the internet as much as we allow them to. It's just the social media ban that's come in.
What do you think will be the flow-on effect from this decision?
I'm going to be really interested to see. We're the first nation in the world to do it.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that there are some people in universities that are collecting some before and after data. I'm hoping that they've got the foresight to have a look at what happens in trends, what happens longitudinally. What I think is going to happen is that we are going to be protecting children's brains at one of the most sensitive times in brain development during those tween and early teen years. And I think that it's going to be good for our kids. Hopefully as well, they'll start spending less time on screens and more time face-to-face with one another. To me, that's the ideal. So the take-home message is this. If the kids are sad about it, give them some empathy and some love and say, yeah, no, I get it. You were really looking forward to it. And then talk about the advantages and disadvantages with them. Just say, what do you think is going to be good about this? What do you think is going to be bad about it? And work out how you can support them.
So you would suggest using the 3 E's.
Oh, the 3 E's of effective discipline.
Explore, explain, and empower.
Explore how they're feeling, explain why it's good, and then empower them to make decisions over the next 12 months that will be in their best interests. How good are you?
I think if I could just add one little thing, when you think about something that you're addicted to, it's not cold turkey doesn't usually ever work, right?
Sure.
So as a family, you've got 12 months to kind of help your child work through this process if this is going to be a really big deal for them, and slow and steady.
Yeah, those conversations are going to make a big difference. If you'd like more information about having these conversations with your kids, check out our webinar, Super Solutions for Technology Troubles. It's online at happyfamilies.com.au. The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Rulon from Bridge Media. Back tomorrow with more to make your family happier.